स्थापकाय च धर्मस्य सर्वधर्मस्वरूपिणे स्थापकाय च धर्मस्य सर्वधर्मस्वरूपिणे अवतारवरिष्ठाय रामकृष्णाय ते नमः। असतो मा सद्गमय तमसो मा ज्योतिर्गमय मृत्योर्मामृतङ्गमय। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्ति। Let us offer our salutations to Sri Ramakrishna, the embodiment of all religions, who came to establish religion universal, the Supreme God incarnate. Let us pray to Him to lead us from the unreal to the real, to lead us from the darkness of ignorance to the light of knowledge, to lead us from death to immortality. May the Divine Master bless all of you on the New Year's Day for happy and prosperous life throughout the year 2004. Today's topic I am dealing is very important for those who want to practice spirituality in their life. The name of the topic is Beware of Deadly Enemy Within. As long as the enemy is strong and vigorous, you can't move an inch forward in the spiritual journey. Rather, it will not allow you to enter into spiritual realm at all. Such is the intensity of the enemy, who is occupying the mind of almost all the people. The specific enemy which I am dealing with today is most dangerous, dehumanizing enemy, and that is anger. Anger. Swami Vijnananda Ji, one of the direct disciples of Sri Ramakrishna, said, whenever a person hates somebody, or when a person shows anger, it means he is not free from egoism. His hatred and anger, they are the offsprings of ego, ahankar. How many people get insulted, get hurt feelings for silly things, most silly things. A silly word may trigger the anger in a person, and the person loses his head. Not only that, The anger drives him so much. He becomes revengeful. He doesn't keep quiet unless some kind of revengeful action is done. And we commonly hear people saying, "Oh, Swamiji, we are all worldly people." So what? Sometimes they feel proud. I'm a worldly man. I showed my temper. But spiritually, you are dead. You have no hope. You can't enter even the threshold of spirituality if you have anger and hatred booming in your heart. Swami Jnananandaji again says, if you really want to get rid of hatred and anger, meditate on Sri Ramakrishna and Holy Mother. What sublime words. If you really meditate, if you focus your mind properly, if you are sincere, just looking at Sri Ramakrishna and Holy Mother, they will take care. They know how to deal with your mind. So you don't have to worry at all. So Sri Ramakrishna has given number of practical instructions and warnings about anger in the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna. What a spiritual treasure it is. People have time for all sorts of things in the world, but they have no time to read the most life-saving scriptures like Gospel, at least for 5 or 10 minutes in a day. Well, me only to blame for anything that happens. How aptly Swami Vivekananda has said. Simply repenting will not solve the problem. You must be heroic. Give direction, anger in that way. Anger is a tool. Used abusively, it destroys you. Used constructively, it helps you in your spiritual path. But how many people do really know how to handle anger? Rather, they succumb to this most dangerous tool, anger. Sri Ramakrishna used to say, it is not just lust alone that one should be afraid of in the life of the world. There is also anger. Anger arises on account of various factors. One factor is, it arises when obstacles are placed in the way of desire. You want something to be done, some obstruction comes, you become upset. You become mad. So, Sri Ramakrishna gives another example. Money is also a great upadhi. How it binds you tight. You can't even breathe freely. It chokes your breath. The possession of money makes such a difference in a man. Again, there is use and abuse of money. We have seen how money is being abused. As a result, throughout the world there is lot of violence, killings, crimes going on, just for the sake of money. People can do anything. Recently I saw in the internet news, that a person who wanted to kill his own wife, he hired a butcher. He hired a butcher. And that fellow, without any hesitation, accepted it. And the lady was, husband also came along with the wife, boarded the train. As soon as they boarded the train, the fellow was hired, was waiting upon, and immediately pounced upon this lady and just with one stroke he beheaded her. All the passengers seeing this ghastly sight. What for he did? For the sake of money. And this fellow could kill his own wife by giving some amount of money to a person. So through money you can destroy anybody in this world. That's what they're doing now. They hire a person and put bombs on the innocent people and kill the innocent people. They are making innocent people scapegoat for their political ends. So much anger is there behind all this function, behind all this operation. Anger. I hate a person. I must do something, whatever it may be. Even it may cost my life, doesn't matter. It goes to that extent. Anger is like that. It is an asuric Shakti, born of Rajas. Kama esha krodha esha rajoguna samudbhavaha mahasunu mahapapma vidhyeni meho vairinam. Bhagavan Krishna says in the Gita very emphatically, the most dangerous enemy is this anger, born of Rajas. Sri Ramakrishna gives an example. A frog had a rupee which he kept in his hole. One day, an elephant somehow was going over the hole. Elephant was walking, and this little frog, coming out in a fit of anger, raised his foot as if to kick the elephant. And it said, "How dare you walk over my head?" Such is the pride that money begets. We're all like frogs, showing temper, showing our ugly face, ugly personality. So that must be totally taken out from the heart. That's the meaning of purification of the heart. Heart is tainted by hatred, jealousy, anger, greed. When the heart is tainted with these things, how can you ever even think of God? How can ever even the mind go towards God? Impossible, I would say. Impossible. So why not concentrate upon making preparation? Simply telling, I want to meditate. Simply attending seminars on meditation. Big seminars. The other day one person came to meet me. Surprisingly I saw him. He has come from Detroit. He gave a call from Chicago. I am coming from Detroit. I am in Chicago. I want to meet you. Are you available now? I am so and so. He said, all right, you please come. He came. He came because he had some about 2 hours time difference to catch the flight to some European country where he would attend on seminar on meditation. What type of meditation are they teaching you? He could not explain properly. He said, no, lots of people come and they do in a very systematic way. They show Kriya Yoga, etc., etc. Well, Sri Ramakrishna, how nicely he has pointed out the crooks. We have allowed the crooks to live in our heart, and we want to live spiritual life. What kind of spiritual life it is? Don't call it spiritual life. Sri Ramakrishna says there, lust and anger are sharks and crocodiles. Sharks and crocodiles. Anger is a characteristic of tamas. Through it, one loses one's wit and can't tell right from wrong. So, Sri Ramakrishna has pointedly told us how our heart is providing the living abode for crocodiles such as anger and greed. So we should take immediate action to see how these crocodiles are killed. Anger is a problem in every part of everyday life, from the roadway to the workplace to the home. Anger directly or indirectly affects health. It is almost always a destructive emotion. The first person damaged by your anger is yourself. You can, if you choose, reduce the amount of anger in your life. As you reduce the amount of anger, your quality of life improves. Well, why are we angry? Only because someone or something is standing in the way of what we think to be the object of our enjoyment, of our pleasure. This is the only reason for all our anger. Always we find that anger is closely connected with an overstressed ego or a strong sense of personality. Without this strong sense of the ego and an inordinate desire for pleasures, physical and mental, anger could never even rise in our hearts. So this ego, this desire for enjoyment, is the only cause of our becoming angry. If we don't desire any enjoyment, if we don't expect anything from anybody, but just give and act without ever expecting any return, there can never be any rise of anger. So, we should get angry with our anger and not with others. We should get terribly angry with our desires for sense pleasures, indulging in sense activities recklessly, and not with the objects as such. The only practical way is to sublimate anger and eventually eliminate it. And without eliminating anger and other associated evils to a great extent, we can never make any progress in spiritual life. Lust and anger are the two greatest enemies in the spiritual path. So they should be carefully avoided by all spiritual aspirants. Swami Yatishwanji said this in his talks on spiritual life. Lord Krishna has nicely, most clearly has given his sayings in the Bhagavad Gita. Jayato vishayan pumsaha sangasteshu upajayate sangat sanjayate kamaha kamat krodho vijayate. Beautifully Shri Krishna says, while contemplating the objects of the senses, a person develops attachment for those objects. From that attachment, desire develops, and from that desire, anger. The drift of passion arises. When a person thinks of the beauty and the pleasant and alluring features of the sense objects, he becomes attached to them. He then regards them as something worthy of acquisition and possession and hankers after them. He develops a strong desire to possess them. Then he endeavors his level best to obtain them. When his desire is frustrated by some cause or other, anger arises in his mind. If anybody puts any obstruction in his way of obtaining the objects, he hates him, fights with him, and develops hostility towards him. Krodhat bhavati sammohaha sammohat smriti vibhramaha smriti bhramsat buddhinasho buddhinashat pranashyati. From anger, losing one's order, one gets illusion, and from illusion the memory gets bewildered. With the memory disturbed, one loses one's intelligence, and from that loss of intelligence one falls down. When intelligence is lost, one falls down again into the material pool. Material pool. So, anger is overpowering as long as a person is immersed in the material pool. So from anger arises delusion. Lord Krishna says, when a man becomes angry, what will happen? He loses his power of discrimination between right and wrong. He will speak and do anything he likes. He will be swept away by the impulse of passion and emotion and will act irrationally. So, how to counteract this anger? Such a dreadful enemy. The power to counteract this must be more powerful than this. Is there any power on this earth to fight with the anger? There are so many ways of fighting with anger. One way is patience. Patience. Sahana Shakti. It is the greatest penance. Patience is a soul force. Only a strong person can be patient. If we force certain things when the time is not right enough, then we fritter away our energy. Try we must. Then we should allow things to happen. God is the greatest penance. Meditate on God and develop patience. An irritable mind is a sign of weakness. Constant moving of limbs and swinging the body to and fro is a sign of weakness. Drink deep the nectar of wisdom. Cultivate calmness. Engage your mind in useful works and meditate on lofty thoughts, success and peace come to a person of patience and perseverance. So develop patience. Bear and forbear. Sharda Devi is the embodiment of forbearance. How much provocative situations come across in the life of Holy Mother. How without grumbling she bore all the irritations in life. Though the Divine Mother of the Universe herself incarnated as Sri Sharda Devi, still she did not use her divine power to fight these evils which people do experience in their life. She dealt with them with this powerful weapon of patience. Powerful weapon, patience, Sahana Shakti. It is a Sattvic Shakti. In fact, in one of my talks I described Holy Mother as the embodiment of Sattvic Shakti. The incarnation of Sattvic Shakti is Sharda Devi. Unparalleled power incarnated in this modern age. Just to demonstrate the magnificent power of Sattvic Shakti. That's why I told in the beginning, if you really want to get rid of anger, just meditate on Holy Mother. There is no difference between Sri Ramakrishna and Holy Mother. They are one and the same. Sri Ramakrishna is simpler than the simplest. Holy Mother is simpler than the simplest. Both are equal. To be patient is not to be lazy. To be patient is to work hard with right means and pure motives and never to get excited or anxious for the results. As the Bhagavad Gita puts it, to work you have the right, but not to the fruits thereof. Of course, the fruit shall be infinite when you do not desire it. The mind should be saturated with the philosophy of action. Then it will offer its best in action and wait patiently and happily for things to happen. When causes are present, effects take care of themselves. Peace and happiness follow a person of patience. It is a divine virtue. Develop patience, therefore. Things done in a hurry lack perfection. Hurry causes worry. Hear what others have to say, but reserve your judgment. Get ready, but wait for the call. Sow the seed, nourish it, but do not dig it out every day to see what is happening. Think noble thoughts, act wisely, speak the truth, speak kind words, love everyone, give and forgive. Then see what happens. Do not be after name or fame. Do not be anxious about what others think about you. Are you satisfied with yourself? This is what is important. Develop patience, therefore. Excited emotions cause anxiety. Anxiety destroys peace and happiness. It is a desire for the fruit of one's efforts that excites the emotions. It is the idea of future happiness that destroys the happiness which exists now. So calming the emotions is a way to cultivate patience. If you purify the emotion, then it is calmed. Meditation and prayer are the ways to purify emotion. Meditate every day. Pray every hour. Continue a prayerful thought every minute. That's the meaning of Lord Krishna's message in Bhagavad Gita. Tasmat sarveshu kaleshu mamanusmara. All the time remember me. That's the purpose. Every minute must be occupied with the divine thought. By this, the strength of the Spirit will be developed in you. It is this strength that gives you patience. When you know that God loves you, you need not be impatient. For the good God shall never let you down. Suppose He sends some obstacles. How to understand? It is to test your patience they come. It is to test your devotion and faith and confidence in God. Obstructions come. We should consider difficulties as blessings in disguise. Sharda Devi has said that blessings are disguise. Difficulties are blessings or disguise. Blessings in disguise. Blessings in disguise. Sufferings are blessings in disguise. Holy Mother has said. So they chisel our irritated mind and make us strong. So suffering comes to purify our hearts and to make our hearts shine better. Depend on God for strength. Know that He has created you for a great purpose. Know that you should be prepared to stand in the presence of God at the appointed hour. So, please develop patience. Think of the quality of sahana. Impatience causes anger. Anger destroys memory by clouding the intellect. Anger destroys peace and happiness. It not only pollutes the whole atmosphere, but drains the energy of the angry man himself. Even as a fire born of wood consumes the wood itself, so does anger consume the man who is angry. Transform anger energy into patience. Just take a deep breath and relax whenever you lose patience and are about to become angry. Walk in the garden for a while and think about the horrible consequences of anger and the great blessings of patience and love. There are times when quick decisions are to be taken. There are times that demand quick actions. This does not mean that you must act impatiently. Instead, a man who has developed patience, due to that reserve energy, is capable of quick decisions and quick actions whenever such a course is important. You can't wait patiently when a house is burning and a person is drowning. You may have to act quickly, but that does not mean that you should lose patience. If you do, then you will burn yourself or drown yourself. Instead of saving the situation, patience gives you the power of right decisions and quick actions whenever they are called for. Therefore, please develop patience. Concentrate upon the quality of patience. Every day meditate on that quality, virtue. Am I patient? How much I have lost my temper today? How much I have practiced control over my anger? One has to question oneself like that. Patience, to be successful in anything in life, should be something like, you can't wait, but you shall wait. If you just wait without proper thinking and prompt actions, then you will get nothing. If you can't wait, then you will be sorry for your hurry, which will cause a great loss. It should be something like the parents waiting with impatient patience for the baby to come. It should be something like a devotee telling God, I can't wait to see you, but I should. There is a joy in, I can't wait, because it is the sadhana or discipline needed for the realization. There is also joy in knowing I should wait, because you know definitely that the sunrise follows the dawn. Your pining shall be followed by the vision. So, most important quality to counteract anger is patience. So develop patience. In Krishna's teachings, we have a complete system for overcoming anger. As it is based on a sound psychology and includes disciplines which all can practice whatever be one's religious denomination. Lord Krishna says, know that this is our enemy here, all devouring and cause of all sin. I just had quoted earlier, Kamayesha Krodayesha Rajoguna Samudbhavaha Mahashano Mahapapma Vidhenamiha Vairinam. One of the traits of delusion and ignorance is that we tend to take an enemy for a friend and a friend for an enemy. So Shri Krishna instructs us to mark out anger as a direct enemy and treat it as such. Otherwise, anger overcomes us with the aid of our willing and liberal help. As we always get angry at any pretext, anger has become our friend by familiarity or association. Whenever we come under the power of anger, we become deluded. Whatever we do in delusion will hurt us today or tomorrow. Delusion affects thinking, distorting memory, and we forget the important lessons of life we may have already learnt. Then we act like an ignorant person driven by viparita bhavana, contrary understanding. Forgetting the lessons of wisdom, we are deprived of the saving services of our own intellect and rush to do things in a manner harmful to ourselves. Anger thus becomes an effective internal saboteur. The words and actions prompted by anger are very forceful because those are directly connected with the source of energy. Overcoming anger will therefore mean separating the energy source in man from its destructive aspect without destroying the power source itself. Every iota of power embedded in the system is needed for bringing about our self-transformation. In Hindu thought, emasculation is never considered to be an appropriate means to effect one's self-regeneration within us, which is desire. We must remember that any source of energy embedded in the psycho-physical system of man is significant. Anger will have to be overcome in a manner that does not injure the energy resources. While the elemental force of fire is vital, we cannot allow free movement of fire in our houses. It is also noteworthy that in the Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna has pointed out, Trividham narakasyedam dvaran nasanamaatmanaha kamat krodastata lobaha tasmadetat trayantyajet. Lord Krishna tells in the same breath, Kam, Krodh, Lobh, desire, anger and greed as three gates to hell. There are three gates to hell. Desire, anger and greed. These emotions are psychologically interlinked, originating as they do from Rajas. Again Lord Krishna says, it is desire, it is anger born of the energy, or Rajas, all devouring, all sinful, that you must know as your foe here. That I have already mentioned, Kamesha, Krodesha, Rajoguna, Samudbhava. In his commentary on this verse, Shankaracharya writes, the enemy of the whole world is desire. Desire that distracts you from God, that distracts you from spiritual pursuit. That desire that is meant here. The desire from which all evil comes to living beings. The desire which pushes you down into the material pool and doesn't satisfy itself unless you are drowned there. When obstructed by some cause, desire is transformed into anger. Then anger is desire itself. It is born of the rajas. Thus we can deduce that anger is inextricably linked to the other baser instincts in man and cannot be tackled in isolation. Once a devotee asked Swami Turiyanandaji, one of the direct disciples of Sri Ramakrishna, he asked a question, "Sir, kindly make my mind free from desire." He wants Swamiji to make his mind free from desire. What the Swami said in reply is illuminating. Swamiji said, "Well, look to the Atman," said the Swami. Look to the Atman, not to the body. Think that you are spirit. Practice fixing the mind on the Atman. Yatishwanji also used to say, he used to tell me many times, look, after doing japa meditation, spend some time in thinking about Atman. Swami used to say to me, how true it is. I am that pure spirit, Nitya Shuddha Buddha Muktaha, Chidananda Rupaha, Shivoham, Shivoham. I am the purest self, untouched by all these blemishes, Nirdosham. One gets attached to objects by constantly thinking of them. From attachment comes longing, and from longing, energy of rajas. For when desire arises, it rouses rajas and urges the person to action. We often hear the cry of miserable persons under the impulse of rajas, saying, I have been led to act so by desire. It is very sinful, for it is only when urged by desire that a man commits sin. Therefore, that this desire is man's foe in samsara. Anger is therefore deadliest enemy. Swami Turiyanandaji regarded anger as consecrated desire, concentrated desire, not consecrated. Swami Turiyananda regarded anger as concentrated desire. It makes one lose one's head completely. Mere desire does not so absolutely overwhelm the mind. Swamiji said, never think of transient things. That way you can escape attachments. He quoted Sri Ramachandra's words. Keeping the palate and lust under control, you may live anywhere. He then remarked that lust and greed are the source of man's troubles also. And then he gives the example of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, another incarnation of Lord Vishnu, who advocated the glory of Parabhakti, devotion. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who was in the full bloom of youth, he went to Bharati, Keshav Bharati, his guru, and he wanted sannyas. So he said, he asked him, Sir, please examine and see if I am fit for it. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is asking his guru to examine him whether he is fit for sannyas. See, those spiritual masters, they had tremendous capacity to test in different ways, And this Keshav Bharati said to Chaitanya, well, who dares to give sannyasa to you who is in full bloom of youth? Anybody would say, go and marry and live the life, enjoy the life for a while, then you will take sannyas. See, that's how generally people talk, Very few people think that younger life is most blessed life to live spirituality. Before the mind is loaded with samskaras, before you load the mind with all dirty things. How nice it is if you offer the mind to God in the early stages. How blessed your life would be. Well, it's a long story. Everybody has to go according to one's own karma gati. Karma gati. But at least one should know where he is. He can't simply jump. If he jumps in a hurried way, he will break his anklets or he will meet with accident. So jumping will not help. You have to go in a very systematic way, in a disciplined way. Spiritual life means disciplined life. If you don't want to practice discipline, forget about spirituality. Simply talk about spirituality. Be satisfied with that. Talk. Morning to night, be talking about spirituality. Go and sleep. Again you talk. Finished. There are people who simply say, I am coming to Vedanta. What do you mean by coming to Vedanta? Coming to Ashrama means Vedanta. Not practicing any discipline. Simply they have entered here, they chat or some things. They chat. That's not the Vedanta in the real sense. Vedanta, they mean probably it is a abode of spiritual place, spiritual teachings. But anyway, at least to that extent they are better than those people who are not even stepping into the Vedanta, Compared to them, he is better. Well, when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu offering himself, Sir, please examine me whether I am fit for sannyas. Put out your tongue. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu protruded his tongue. And the disciples protruded tongue. What Keshubhati did, he put some sugar. The sugar remained there as it was, dry, without being moistened in the least, and was then scattered by the wind and was blown out. Then Keshubhati immediately said, well, there is no need to examine the aspirant anymore. You have secured first rank. You have conquered the senses. The most important sense is palate. Even the sugar could not distract your mind, could not cause any disturbance in the mind. You are really very fit for the sannyas. In Srimad Bhagavatam also there is a saying, when the hankering of palate is controlled, everything else is controlled. Proceeding further, Swami Turiyanji said, throughout the Gita, there is repeated mention of this. O Arjun, control the senses first, and thereby kill the sinful propensity to desire, which destroys one's knowledge and realization. Control of the senses is not to be brought about by violent efforts. Only by realizing God it is perfectly achieved. But at first one must struggle for the end. Even if a single organ remains uncontrolled, all austerities, all efforts after spirituality become useless. Even as when there is a single hole in a pitcher, all the water escapes through that. You know the parable where Sri Ramakrishna gives the example of the peasant irrigating his field. All the water escaped through the chink of the ground, a chink on the ground, and not a drop of water reached the field. Even the craving for the sense objects leaves an aspirant when he realizes the Lord. From the above counsels it is clear that we cannot overcome anger in isolation from desire, greed, etc. Using a modern phrase, a package deal is necessary. Package deal. Everybody wants to use this term. The task of overcoming anger is handled effectively when we have taken up the challenges of overcoming the other passions. It might be thought that we started with one problem on hand, how to overcome anger, but now we have to ask to solve more. However, by ignoring the existing ramifications of the problem and by only holding on to its partial understanding, we are not making its solution easy. By understanding the problem in a correct perspective, we embark on a more comprehensive self-improvement process. Once we understand the root of the problem, this self-transformation can be effected and a total regeneration will be brought about. When by following the disciplines, sattva constantly prevails in one's nature, one transcends anger. No other method of overcoming anger can be surer than this. By acquiring a clear grasp of the function of the gunas as manifested in human nature, we can have a comprehensive solution to the problem on hand. The passions originate in rajas, which is one of the threefold aspects of psycho-physical nature. The teachings of the 14th chapter of the Gita, dealing with this subject in detail, it says, created beings are produced from the union of Purusha and Prakriti by the power of the Lord. This activity of the Lord is continuous in as much as that He is both the origin and the indwelling soul of every being on earth. The soul or spirit becomes entangled in the world by its contact with body or matter. Purush denotes consciousness and Prakriti, nature or matter, which is dull and insentient. Prakriti consists of three gunas, sattva, rajas and tamas. Rajas denoting restlessness is the active principle of nature. Tamas is the principle of inertia. Sattva denotes calmness, serenity and harmony. Samsara or relativity is the realm of the gunas. Freedom is beyond them. Through in everyone's nature, the three gunas are present. One guna prevails over the other two and sets the predominant tone of a particular nature as signified by such terms as a calm person, a restless person, etc. Sri Krishna teaches further, sattva asserts itself by prevailing over rajas and tamas. Rajas asserts itself by prevailing over sattva and tamas asserts itself by prevailing over sattva and rajas. When the light of knowledge shines through all the gateways of the body, then it may be known that sattva has prevailed. Greed, activity, enterprise, unrest, longing, these arise when rajas prevails. Darkness, indolence, inadvertence and delusion, these arise when tamas prevails. Shankaracharya elaborates on the functions of the three gunas in the Viveka Chudamani. Kamaha, Krodho, Lovaha, Dambha, Yasuyaya, Ahankareshya, Matsyaradhyastu Ghoraha, Dharma Ede Rajasaha, Pum Pravrittir Yasmadesha Taddrajo, Bandhahetuhu. Lust, anger, avarice, arrogance, spite, egoism, envy, jealousy, etc. These are the direct attributes of rajas from which the worldly tendencies of man are produced. Therefore, rajas is a cause of bondage. Ajnanamalasya jadatva nidra pramada mudhatva mukastamo ganaha etaihi prayukto nahi vetti kinchin nidraluvat sambhavadeva tishtati. Ignorance, lassitude, dullness, sleep, inadvertence, stupidity, etc. are the attributes of tamas. One tied to these does not comprehend anything but remains as one in sleep or like a pillar. Shankara says in the Vivek Chudamani. Whereas the sattva, the traits of pure sattva are cheerfulness, the realization of one's own self, supreme peace, contentment, bliss, and steady devotion to Atman, by which the aspirant enjoys bliss everlasting. So, what is needed is, in whatever way the guna is predominating in us, in some people tamas is predominating. In some people, rajas is predominating. In some people, sattva is predominating. So, you have to judge yourself under what predominance of guna you are in. Then you have to take proper steps. If you feel you are tamasic, you must get rid of tamas by becoming rajas. If you feel you are rajasic more than what is required, then you must rise from rajas to sattva. And you must try to establish yourself firmly, properly in sattva. When you are established in sattva, you are able to understand and practice spiritual disciplines more thoroughly, and you will be able to overcome all the negative forces, and you will be able to destroy all the negative samskaras, and you will be able to clear off the debris from the mind, and you will be able to purify the mind so thoroughly when you are well established in sattva gun. So try to establish yourself in sattva gun. That's the way to conquer the anger. Otherwise it's not difficult, it's not easy to conquer anger. But if you are aware of that enemy within your heart, then surely you will be able to conquer the enemy. Because you are the master of the home, and you must know definitely how to get rid of the enemy staying in the home. First of all, you must recognize that he is the enemy. Instead of treating enemy as a friend, you must recognize the enemy as enemy. That recognition comes only when you are established in sattva. So, let us try to establish ourselves in sattva gun. That is done by constant reading of holy scriptures, offering daily worship to the divine God, and practicing japa, meditation, prayers every day. These spiritual practices should not be stopped for any reason, any reason. No compromise when it comes to matters spiritual. If you hold on to that kind of strict discipline, then there is surely a way that you can transform yourself. So Sri Ramakrishna used to say, lukewarm spiritual practice will not lead you anywhere. On the other hand, it will frustrate you. You think you have done spiritual practice, but the result is nil. The result is nil. So you may feel frustrated. But the reason is, the spiritual practice is so lukewarm, it does not gain proper momentum to create counter force to fight all the evil samskaras in the mind. So let us pray to Sri Ramakrishna and Holy Mother to give us calmness and steadiness, to make us always dwell upon sattva gun. Let us be prayerful. Let us pray to them to free us from egoism. Thank you all. Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma Vishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Tat Sat. May the Lord protect us. May He nourish us. May our knowledge be fruitful and enlightened. May we not hate each other. Peace, peace, peace be unto all.